All right, welcome back again. We are on week 2, day 4, Thursday. So we have today and tomorrow, and we're done for the week. Here we go. Today we're going to work on bell work and reading fluency, and we're going to do a little out loud reading with some comprehension questions. All right, and then we'll finish up with cursive and reading. Here we go. Today's bell work is week 2, day 4, and I will see you later. Here we go. So you need a capital I. Oops. Capital I. Get a little light on here, man. That'll help. Oops. Right. And then you're going to need a lowercase w. C is okay. U is okay. Later needs it's over here, L-A-T-E-R. And we can probably finish that with a period. All right, little slant. I will see you later. Period. Alright, and make sure when you're practicing your spelling words, no floating, no sinking, use your best penmanship, and do all 15 words. Make sure you have a capital D and that December is a proper noun. Here we go. 411 plus 139. 1 plus 9 is 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5, and 4 plus 1 is 5. 550. Man, over here, number 2. 628 plus 236. 8 plus 6, 14. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, and 6 plus 2 is 8. 864. 411 minus 139. 1 minus 9 can't do it. If you put an 8 here, it probably means it went bottom up. You gotta go top down, remember? Borrow from that 1, that becomes 0, and that becomes 1 becomes 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. 0 minus 3, we can't do that, so we got to borrow from the 4. 4 becomes 3, and 0 becomes 10. 10 minus 3 is 7, and 3 minus 1 is 2. 272. 628 minus 236. 8 minus 6 is 2. 2 minus 3, nope, got to borrow. That becomes 5. 12 minus 3 is 9, and 5 minus 2 is 3. 392. 17 times 8. Old school first. 8 times 7 is 56. Carry the 5. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 5 is 13. New school. 8 times 10 is 80. 7 times 8 is 56. Add the 2 together. 136. And our 2 match, so we did them right. 57 times 3, old school. 7 times 3 is 21. Carry the 2. 3 times 5 is 15. Plus 2 is 17. New school. Well, 3 times 50 is 150. 7 times 3 is 21. 171. 171. All right, 45 times 3. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 times 4 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. 135. 3 times 40 is 120. 5 times 3 is 15. 135. 135. 135. 9 times 7 is 63. Carry the 6. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 6 is 20. 203. Hey, 20 times 7 is 140. 9 times 7 is 63. Gives us 203. 203, 203. 8 times 3 is 24. Carry the 2. 8 times 6, 48. Plus 2 is 50. All right. 8 times 60 is, well, 8 times 6 is 48, right? And we put a 0 on it, 480. 8 times 3 is 24. 504. 504, 504. All right, 20 divided by 4 is 5. Double check it. 5 times 4 is 20. 40 divided by 10. 10, 20, 30, 40. 4 times. 4 times 10 is 40. 54 divided by 6 is 9. 9 times 6, 54. 42 divided by 7, 6. 6 times 7 is 42. 72 divided by 8 is 9. 9 times 8 is 72. Alright, equivalent fractions. 8 tenths equals 2 over what? Well, to get from 2 to 8, I'd have to go times 4, right? 2 times 4 is 8. So, let's see here. 2 times 4 is 8. What times 4 equals 10? Ooh, we're going to have to figure this one out. Let's pull out our handy sheets. We can't really use that. Let's see. 8 tenths. Wait. Okay, 8 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's a line here. And, oh, we can use 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, no, we're looking at 2 something, aren't we? I got a feeling that one is not doable. 8 tenths equals 2 over what? That one won't work. So, scratch that. Can't find the equivalent fraction. 2 times 4 is 8. What times 4? Nope. Alright, anyways. 0, sorry about that. 0 times 12 equals something over 6. So, alright. Well, whenever you have a 0 in a fraction, that whole fraction becomes a 0, no matter if it's a numerator or a denominator. So, if this is going to equal 0, we need to make this side equal 0. We have a 6 for a denominator. Let's put a 0 there, and it will make that a 0 too. So, that has a value of 0, that has a value of 0. Anytime you put a 0 in a fraction or a multiplication or division, it becomes 0. So, anything times 0, 0. Anything divided by 0, 0. Same with fractions. Okay. Tomorrow's bell work. Friday will be week 2, day 5. My sister is cool. There. I don't have a sister, so I have a brother. I don't think he's that cool. Maybe you have a sister that's cool. Okay. Let's go on to our reading. If you need to get out your reading sheet, go ahead and get it out. Week 2, day 2. So we're using the same sheet again for a fluency practice. Get your partner ready. If you need to pause it, go ahead and pause it. Otherwise, we're going to start 1 minute of reading. Alright. Get your mouth ready, get your finger ready, get your eyes ready, your mind ready, get ready, and go. $30 seconds left. $10 seconds left. And stop. Circle the last word you read and score it. So for example, let's say you stopped on the word laws. It would be 100, 101, 102. Let's say you made 3 mistakes, 1, 2, 3. You subtract that from that big score. And this would be like 99, for example. Maybe you did better, maybe you read the whole thing. I know some of you probably can. And then you record your score on the second page, and hopefully your second score is bigger than your first score that you recorded on Tuesday. Remember the whole point? See how many words we can read in a minute. Reading fluency. If you went backwards, don't worry about it. If it's, once in a while thing, that's no big deal. If you're consistently going backwards, then maybe you need to practice more And make sure you're reading out loud when you read. That will help you with your fluency. There's a big difference between reading in your head and reading out loud. So sometimes it's a little harder to get your mouth ready to speak those next words. So when you're reading, some of it can be read in your head, but some of it I would like you reading out loud and practicing reading out loud. Okay, so today's assignment, we're going to read the passage on both sides, and you're going to answer the questions that follow. Let's review the questions so we know what to look for. Remember, typically questions follow the order of the reading. Okay, so like question 1, you're probably going to find that somewhere within the first couple paragraphs. Okay, and that even goes into high school, stuff like that. So it's just a good trick to know. Okay, so the first question says, how does the author describe revels or reveals in paragraph 1? Okay, Revels is the main character. So how does he describe him? Is he describing his personality? Is he describing his looks? Is he describing his attitudes? And make sure you're using a complete sentence. I don't want just one word, okay? All right, and number 2, what did Revels do that the author describes as brave? Okay, so somewhere in this passage, that's going to describe him being brave. What did he do that made him brave? Number 3, according to the text, what was Revels' great achievement? So what did he achieve during this? So you got to read the whole text, the whole passage, and decide what was his biggest achievement through this whole reading. And number 4, what is the author's position about Hiram Revels? Okay, position meaning, did he like him? Did he approve of what he did? Did he consider him a hero? Did he not like him? Did he not approve of what he did? Did he consider him kind of a villain? You know, so what's his position or his feelings about Hiram Revels? And part B you already did. All right, so I'm going to read it out loud. Those of you who have a little trouble with reading, you can read along with me. And here we go. Last time I started on page 2. I got it right. All right, back to the beginning. All right. Hiram Revels, the first African-American senator. Okay? All right. Hiram Rhodes Revels was born in North Carolina in the year 1827. Through his whole life, he was a good citizen. He was a great teacher and leader. And he was always fair. He was so well respected that he became the first African American to serve in the U.S. Senate. A hard time for African Americans. Revels was born during a hard time for African Americans. African Americans were treated badly. Most African Americans in the South were enslaved. Revels grew up as a free African American or freed man. However, as a freed man, Revels could make his own choices. Still, the laws in the South were unfair toward all African Americans. They had to work hard jobs. They were not allowed to go to school. Though it was not legal, some freed men ran schools for African American children. As a child, Revels was sent to one of these schools. He worked hard to become highly educated. He was unable to go to college in the South, so he traveled far from home. He went to college in northern states. So like Michigan would be considered a northern state. Florida, Georgia, those would be considered southern states. All right. Flip it over. Preaching and teaching. After college, Revels became the pastor of a church. He was a great speaker. He was also a great teacher. Revels knew many people did not want African Americans to be educated, but Revels was very brave. He traveled all over the country. He taught African Americans. He knew that this would make them good citizens. The first African American senator. This is a big deal back then. Okay. African Americans weren't treated very well, and they weren't given very good jobs back then. They weren't considered leaders by many people in society. So this was a big deal. And he had to be voted in for this job. So, a huge accomplishment. Rebels moved to Natchez, Mississippi in 1866. By this time, slavery had been banned. There were many newly freed African Americans. These freed men voted for rebels to be in the Mississippi State Senate. From there, he was elected to the U.S. Senate. He was the first African American to become a U.S. Senator. It was a great achievement. In the Senate, rebels tried to be fair to all the people in his state. He disliked rules that were unfair for African Americans, so he tried to change them. He made it legal for African Americans to work in the Navy shipyards. He challenged rules that kept African Americans apart from other Americans. But he was also fair to people of all colors. So he represented everybody, not just African Americans, it was all the people. Even though the South lost during the Civil War, rebels did not want white Southern soldiers to be punished. Huron Rebels helped many people throughout his life. He helped people learn. As a senator, he helped the country progress. He was truly a good citizen. Alright, so that last part here might help you answer one of those questions about how the author felt about Huron Rebels. Alright, so that's your assignment for today. Go ahead and do that and make sure you have the questions answered. Okay? Alright, now on to the last part of the day, our reading. It's going to be a short read because we spent quite a time with our reading worksheet. So, well, let me put on our little Caribbean scene. And here we go. Chapter 2. It was raining much harder now, and the wind had picked up incredibly speed. Jack and the barmaid were in the alley behind the tavern, and the slight overhang wasn't keeping them dry. He turned to thank the girl who had saved him. But before he could, she threw him up against the side of the faithful bride. "How dare ye start a fight in my father's tavern?" She placed her hands on her hips, and her brown eyes flashed. "Couldn't ye do your pickpocketing somewhere else tonight? Someplace nicer, whose patrons wouldn't wreck the place?" She pushed him against the wall and stepped back. Jack brushed himself off, straightening the wrinkles in his coat. "Now listen here, lassie. I am not a thief. I didn't come here by choice, and I wasn't pickpocketing." Jack waved a sack in Arabella's face. "Captain 7-foot beastie in there stole my sack here, and I was simply reclaiming my property. So if my gratitude is worthless to you, I'll just gather up my things. Not say thank you for being so inhospitable, and be on my merry way. Savvy?" Jack lifted his head up and started to walk, but Arabella grabbed his arm and threw him up against the wall again. "Do you have any idea who you've taken that sack from, whether it's yours or not?" she asked. "No, and truth be told, I really don't care," Jack said, wrestling free from Arabella's grip. "That was Captain Terence, you moron," Arabella said, slapping Jack upside the head. Jack looked blank. "The infamous and the dreaded?" Arabella said. "Not ringing any bells?" "Nope, not ringing any bells," Jack answered. "The most notorious pirate this side of Hispaniola," Arabella tried again. "Oh, wait," Jack said with a sudden look of recognition. Then his face fell again. Nope, sorry." "Well, either way, you're as good as dead, stealing from him. Look, I'm not a crook," Jack said. "This crummy sack here, and what's in it, is all I have. I would have brought more, but storage space for stowaways is very limited." Arabella rolled her eyes. "Then," Jack continued, "as is typical on this bloody island, a bloody pirate stole it from me. I don't even bloody remember it happening. The bloke, he got me from behind. But what can I tell you is that this here is my sack." Jack leapt up onto the old barrel and opened the sack. "For instance," he said, digging around the sack, then pulling out what looked like a stick of wax. "This candle here is not mine." Jack looked at the candle, confused, and then tossed it down. "Surprise," Arabella said sarcastically. "No, no, no," Jack said, frustrated. Digging deeper, he pulled out what might have been old underwear. Ugh. He shivered and tossed them away. After that came what looked like a dried up old rat. "Arabella, by the way," the girl said. Jack did not look up. "The lassie has a name," she continued, "and it's Arabella." Jack grunted, not really paying attention. There was no end to the horrible things in the sack. He threw out something that looked very much like petrified dung. "Look, sorry, I went wild on ye," Arabella said sincerely. "It's just my father temper is bad enough as it is. He's going to be in a frightful state now, spending the next week fixing up the place, repairing the chairs and tables that ye helped destroy." There was a small thump as something Jack tossed hit Arabella square in the forehead. She thought she caught it as it fell. It was a heavy coin. "Thank you," she muttered sarcastically. "This makes up for everything." "Well, it's the only thing in here worth anything," Jack said glumly. "My knife, my box, my stash of coins." He looked up at her, bewildered. It's all gone." Frustrated and angry, he turned the sack upside down and shook out several apple seeds. Then something big and heavy fell out of the bottom, hitting the ground with a thunk. Jack leapt down to look at it. His eyes lit up as his fingers closed around smooth leather. A scabbard, a long scabbard, a sword. Any sword would fetch some nice cash on the black market, and this one looked like it had some history to it. He would be rich. Well, if not rich, at least he could start to buy back the things he had lost. Then again, perhaps he would keep it for himself. He didn't have a sword. Anyone who was anyone in the Caribbean had a sword. But as he picked up the scabbard, Jack realized the weight was wrong. Much too light to have a sword in it. Jack groaned and threw the empty scarab to the ground. "Blasted pirates!" He rubbed his eyes with his fingers and sank against the tavern wall, contemplating a bleak and not so well-fed future. But Arabella's eyes widened as the scabbard tumbled to the ground. Was that a flash of gold? She picked it up, ignoring Jack's grumbles, and turned it over in her hands. Although it was scratched and covered with dirt, glints of gold and silver still remained worked into the leather, which was sparkling with rain, and she could feel a design embossed on it. "No, it couldn't be," she breathed. "Get me some light," she ordered. Normally Jack took orders from no one, least of all an angry tavern owner's daughter, but he heard something in Arabella's voice that caught his attention. Without protest, he took out a little flint and tinder kit from his coat pocket and lit the candle stub from the sack. Arabella took the candle and cast its weak light over the leather. Look there," she said, pointing at the scabbard. There were some words in a language neither of them recognized, abbreviations of some sort, and then some more inscriptions in Spanish. Below that was a strange image of a serpent with feathers, worked in reddish gold, angular and foreign. "Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec god," Arabella whispered. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. Her voice quivered with excitement. "Is it worth lots of gold?" Jack asked. "It's the scabbard to the sword of Cortez," she whispered. And Jack's eyes widened. All right, we'll finish tomorrow, Friday. All right, good work. Remember, tomorrow is your spelling test, so study for tonight, and we will take the spelling test tomorrow. So you're going to need your spelling sheet ready to go tomorrow after we go over bell work. All right? And then you can have somebody in your house check it over for you. Or you can check it yourself. It's just for practice. Remember, we're not putting any grades in the grade book. Everything we do from here on is just to get you ready for 4th grade. All right? Everybody's going to 4th grade in my class. Nobody's being held back. So put those worries behind you and just have fun with this and keep on learning and getting ready for next year. Good job.